Well, good morning. It's Friday. How we all doing out there?
Good morning.
Good morning. We're freezing in Florida.
It's freezing. Well, I
Yes.
think the warm weather came up here, along with the wind. I walked out just to get in the car, head to the gym this morning, and we usually put our barrels out on Thursday night. And luckily, for whatever reason, I don't know why the kids didn't do it last night, but the entire street was just littered with trash because of the wind. So yeah, it was pretty bad this morning. We've got our Finance Friday guys on today. So we've got some exciting stuff to talk about with those guys. But let's open it up like we typically do for you guys. Does anybody have something that's just pressing on their mind going on a real estate transaction that you want to chat about? I need more real estate deals when I was in production. I needed more like you guys have, where nothing goes wrong. You guys have all these deals that are just going smooth, no issues. How come I didn't get those? Lauren.
So I just had one of our agents come to us with something really unique. That they were working with a client, they showed them a home, they had their buyer agreement signed, and then they hear back from their client that says, "Hey, sorry, we actually have to work with so and so instead." Turns out that this other person was not only a mortgage lender, but was also an agent and had told this client, if you don't come back and close this transaction with me, you will not get the loan. I guarantee it. And was like kind of bullying this client. And so out of fear of everything, they went back to that other person. But I just thought that was like a really interesting situation.
Yeah, that's typically my strategy. I try and put the fear of God into my clients so that they work with me. I think that's highly recommended, and you guys should all try this strategy. I mean, that is shocking to me that the client actually decided that this is the person that I want to move forward with. The person is applying pressure and handling themselves in that manner. But I guess I don't know what that prior relationship looks like. I will tell you, this does happen, and a lot of times it happens in a little bit friendlier way. And I think there's just a conversation to be had, especially if you've put a lot of work in. I don't know how much work was put in by this particular agent on this particular client. But a lot of times just asking for a referral fee. Hey, I totally get it. You didn't realize that Aunt Susie or your best friend from high school had their license and you bumped into them at the party. Totally get it, right? But I've got some time and energy into this. I'm happy to let you out of the contract. Let's just do a referral fee. And based on the amount of effort, you can gauge how much that referral fee could be. So, you don't want to be working with people that don't want to work with you. But at the same time, we want to try and get compensated for the time and energy that we've put into somebody. So, anybody have a share around this topic? Because there's a lot of different weird scenarios that come up. Anybody have something happen to them that's fairly similar, and maybe how you handled it, and kind of knowing what you know now, maybe if you would have handled it different, anything like that? Nicole.
I just had one. I'm doing the listing for a past client, and she's under contract on the buy side with a for sale by owner who didn't want any agents involved. So I kind of guided her through how to get the offer in and stuff, but didn't actually look anything over because it was really early in the process, and she went back and forth with this person for a couple months. So I didn't even know by the time it got accepted. Long story short, she was going to use our preferred attorney that she was using for her sales side for the buy side. We're closing today, actually, and literally last week, Garvey reached out to me and said she doesn't have anything for the buy side and she needs the attorney's information. And I was like, well, she's supposed to be using you. She's like, nope, I have nothing. So I talked to my client, and her lender said, no, you need to use my attorney for this. And there was just no communication. There was no purchase and sale. Nothing was written up, and we almost couldn't close on both deals. Excuse me. because of that. So just be careful if we're using our preferreds. That's why we use them. So if someone does get swayed one way or another, not with an agent, but with either a lender, an attorney, make sure you're really following up with those people because they're not as good as our preferreds. This one really almost fell apart on both ends because there was literally no paperwork at all.
Yeah, and this used to happen a lot more. And I'm just curious if anybody's had this happen recently. A lot of the lenders, especially like a smaller local lender, would say, we're not going to allow outside counsel to represent. You got to use our closing attorney. Anybody ran into that recently using a local lender where they had to use their attorney? Is that still a thing? I feel like that used to happen. It'd be the closed list, and I'd be like, come on, we have a closed attorney list. I've done 20 deals a year with this attorney. I'd like to get them on the list, and a lot of times they would just add them to the list, but sometimes it was no, you've got to use ours. So just curious, anybody run into that recently? Is that still going on? Nobody's got a story there. All right.
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of what's happening with one of my transactions currently, where the listing agent was adamant that we use her title company, which we were kind of fine with, especially since this here in Florida, they were picking and paying title anyway. Where I'm having trouble with this listing agent is she goes from being a complete sweetheart to bipolar in like 2 seconds. She has tons of mistakes all over her contracts. I'm trying to be nice enough to say, hey, not going to throw names, but I'm like, hey, we'll definitely help. We'll do everything that we can. Not a problem here. And then for all the mistakes that she's making, she starts yelling at me, um, putting up fits and rage and arguments, literally to the point where I felt the need that I had to call her broker out on this one. And this was the first time I've ever felt the need to actually report an agent to their broker. So the next couple of things, she's a complete sweetheart to me. And then once again, she's not passing on the proper paperwork. She's not getting addendum signed timely. She's trying to control the situation in ways that is pressuring and like bullying. And I still can't get her to sign off on an addendum. And I'm to the point where I'm like, crap, I don't even know. I mean, how do we get this to the seller if the broker's just on the sideline saying, hey, my agent's doing a good job? And this agent, I mean, it's all in text message too, kind of refusing to work, refusing to answer questions, or even asking her sellers of anything. I mean, it was literally to the point where I'm sitting there going, why are you yelling at me? You need to calm down. Everything is going to be fine. We're here to help. I went out of my way to even drive to her seller's house to get doc signed that she had messed up on. And she was there too. So no unethical behavior there. Um, but yeah, it is a troublesome transaction to the point where now my clients are getting nervous.
Anybody have any feedback for Alex dealing with, difficult agent on the other side? I will tell you from my experience, typically you don't want to have to go to management, but when it gets there, the few times that I've had to go to that extreme, I will say at least it just made the rest of the transaction go a little bit better. So I think you did the right thing there by just kind of going to the management and saying, hey, look, here's what's going on. Sometimes birds of a feather, right? And so you've got managers and brokers who also really don't care, unfortunately. And so sometimes that doesn't solve the problem. And I think sometimes the answer, Alex, unfortunately, is you just gotta, roll your sleeves up and try and get to the finish line on this one. And it's just not going to get any better. Typically trying to meet them in person at some point. I know a lot of things can get taken out of context when we're texting and we're emailing and stuff like that. So if it is a smaller market and you can get together, it sounds like you tried to do something in person. You went to the seller's house. I mean, it feels like you've kind of pulled out all the stops that I would have tried. So this might just be one that you just got to roll up the sleeves and get her done.
Is it unethical by chance? Because I know, like, when we're presenting an offer, and if we submit an offer, and if the agent just refuses to present the offer, In certain circumstances, I've never had to do this, but so I've heard from attorneys, we can take that offer directly to their sellers if the agent's not doing their job. Does it work the same way with addendums by chance? I would never want to really do that and jeopardize anything or just kind of make myself look bad or her look bad. But at the same time, I mean, things need to get done.
Right. Have you tried to reach out to, is there legal counsel on the other side?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes that can be the saving grace is you've got an attorney that's willing to play ball or do the communications or help to get something signed. So I might try that.
Yeah, I suppose I'll reach out to her lawyer.
Yeah.
That's a good
What's the
option.
addendum regarding, Alex?
Uh, part of the offer, we negotiated that the seller is going to paint the house and paint the house of the colors of the buyer's choosing. So since we have that in additional terms, I drew up an addendum that basically is an acknowledgement of the buyer's colors, which the or seller's agent never presented to her sellers originally until the day of inspection, in which the sellers had already purchased their own colors, and now we're making them kind of repurchase our own. So the addendum is literally just buyer and seller acknowledge that these are the colors that the buyers chose. Since it's already in the additional terms, figured it's got to be
Right.
protected in a way of an addendum.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she's agreeing to it, but she can never get it over to her sellers. And they're starting to paint and pressure wash today.
Right. I will say the other thing is sometimes attorney to attorney can go over well. For whatever reason, you can get some attorneys that just think they're above the agent. And so if they receive contact from another attorney, sometimes that can help too. So if you try to go direct and that doesn't work, maybe you can reach out to your client's attorney and see if we can do something there.
Yeah, I guess I could figure something out with that. That's a good option. Thank you.
Anyone else have any thoughts on Alex's situation or have your own debacle going on? The messier, the better. Let's talk about it.
I'll touch on that, Steve, because I think you made the right comment right there. I feel like that in Massachusetts, the best thing always is just let the attorneys deal with it. Once it's under contract, I mean, they've put the contract together. If you need changes to the contract, they're getting paid for this transaction too. And it's always seems smoother when they have to deal with each other. And sometimes if you take that listing agent out of play for a little bit.
Yeah, so the only difference here is in Florida, we only have one attorney dealing in this transaction, and it would be the one that the sellers actually picked and paid for. So technically, that attorney represents the seller. Now, I'm going to call in a few favors. We have a preferred attorney. I'm sure she wouldn't mind kind of stepping in for us since we send her a lot of business. But technically, yeah, it's only a one party thing.
Oh yeah, I always forget in Florida, it's kind of a little different.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have something that they want to throw out on the table, or do we want to let Eric and Dan have the floor for a little bit?
Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely because right along the same lines you had said there, having the attorneys reach out or just having somebody else. Sometimes it takes maybe another voice. So like another team member, whether it's the agent or like the lender or anybody else involved to just kind of help jump in, even a TC or a processor or somebody. Because like you said, everybody's getting.
You got muted there, Dan. I don't know what happened. But I think we got the gist. And something else that just popped into my head, Alex, would be having your own manager or broker reach out. And even if it's got to be just a little bit of a white lie where you're just, hey, could you reach out to this agent? Just tell them I had to step away for a couple of days and you were just filling in for me or something, right? And just see if they get a different response. So just have maybe somebody else from the office call, hey, Alex is stepping away for a couple of days. He wanted me to watch his files. And, I know one of the things that we were trying to get resolved was X, and just see if you can get a kind of a different response. We're getting really low on the totem pole here of options, but again, it could work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a great one. I kind of like Dan's approach of having even the lender step in, considering I just remembered he's the lender on this one. So,
I
hey,
was
man, now
thinking,
you're up to speed.
is this, I'm sorry, am I unmuted now? But yeah, I thought you were saying this was for Diane, because I had seen something about the paint color, so I was gonna ask you about that. So for sure, yeah, I can try to step in here too, and maybe we see what we can do to get this resolved.
Yeah, man. Well, give me a couple hours on that one because I got a few things I got to take care of, and let me see if I can handle it. But yeah, sorry for taking up most of your floor there. I forgot today's Finance Friday.
No, that's all right. No big deal. I was even going to mention, just along the same lines as challenging people to work with when we're all in a transaction trying to move in the same direction is, one particular thing. I know we talk about condos a lot here, and getting that condo documentation. I have a situation right now I haven't had come up to me literally in 14 years doing this. I have an HOA that refuses to give me like anything at all, refuses to fill out any type of questionnaire, won't give me any insurance policy and all this. And what their reasoning, and they try to tell me, is that they don't allow government loans. And they just keep saying something along those lines. And it's like I'm trying to get them to understand. And the funny part is that they were on a Fannie Mae approval condo list already, and it had expired. And I talked to the president, and he was telling me that in 20 years, they've never allowed any type of government loans. And I think he can't differentiate. I'm telling him this is a regular conventional loan. I have, 15 different loan programs that I could offer my client. I still need to get the same basic information from you guys. And they literally like Alex was saying, where she started raising her voice at him and kind of flipping the switch. This guy like started going crazy. So I reached out to the listing agent to ask her to see if she could kind of get him to help us along here. So that's kind of where we're at now. I've got the seller herself actually trying to contact her people in the HOA and see why they won't fill this out. Because unfortunately, if they won't provide any type of information, then I won't be able to determine what type of loan she can get. And it's an odd thing because it's a big complex, and they've had recent sales. Like I said, they were on Fannie Mae. We get referred to a management company, and then they blame it on the board and say the board wants you to fill it out. I've talked to two different people on the board. One of the guys yelling at me saying, "Hey, it's black and white. We're not going to do anything." And so, then at that point, I've kind of called all the agents, involved everybody else there. But, along the lines of what you were saying, maybe even now to have the attorney reach out, that might be my next step on this one here too.
On this one, Dan, you just mentioned something. How current does whatever docs that you're looking for need to be? Because you said big complex previous sales. I wonder if we could reach out to a previous lender and get a copy of something, or does it need to be like now?
I
Like, could
mean, it
we?
all needs, it definitely all needs to be current and up to date. I would say like if the questionnaire was filled out within the last, I'd have to double check to see if there is like a steadfast underwriting rule as to the date on it.
Yes, maybe
Because,
the
we're
agent,
usually,
agent could help you out by going and looking at the past sales, calling a couple of those agents, finding out who did those loans, or if they have a copy of that questionnaire. I'm just trying to see if we can, make your life a little easier too. Maybe somehow
right.
somebody, so
Yeah, it's a
yep.
good option too.
Margareta, your hand is up. What do you got?
Hi, so have you considered, because they have to have meeting boards, then the key to, because seems to be dragging long enough, you just might make their regular meeting the only thing because I had something similar. And if you get on their agenda, make sure you request to be on the agenda for the board meeting, and then address it with the people on the board and see what is the problem. Maybe this one person has some sort of thing up, what? Maybe the others are not even aware of what's going on, or whatever the situation is. As a legitimate person who owns the condominium, there should be some resolution for this. I would bring it up as a actual point on the meeting board.
Yeah, hopefully, if there is an upcoming meeting, maybe they could attend that and try to make that happen too.
Dan or Eric, you guys have anything else just teed up for today? I know we're 2/3 of the way through here, but maybe you guys had something that you wanted to chat on. I know I reached out to you guys about this well flow thing. You guys took a look at the guidelines,
Yeah.
which I have forwarded along to Sherwood Home Inspections. But you guys came back and basically said, yes, it is a new regulation, but our understanding is new construction, uh, property was previously vacant, or there was a third scenario where we might need to
Okay.
actually do it too, right?
So not that it was new construction, but if it, I'm sorry, not that it was not a new guideline, a new regulation, but
Okay.
it's if it's new construction, if the property has been vacant for a certain amount of time prior to sale, or the other one is if they're on a shared well system
Oh,
with
that's
a
what it was.
neighbor or something like that.
Yep.
If it's one of those type of scenarios, then they will want that flow test done. So I've had that come up in the past, though. So that's not something that's brand new.
So we'll have to figure out if this is some sort of a new one, because that's the home inspector was trying to make it sound like this was new. So I forwarded those
So-
guidelines. He hasn't gotten back to me yet.
So when we had reached out to our underwriters yesterday, in addition to what I had just explained, those three scenarios, they did tell me that they were going to further research it to see if there have been any further releases, and that we would have that information here by the end of the day today. Was kind of the second part of our ticket yesterday, with underwriting for that. But those three scenarios that we've given is not something that's brand new. But immediately didn't see any new release that was changing anything though.
All right, good to know. So that stuff has been around, and we should just be aware of that, because I have never heard of that either. So, because the home inspector's big issue is that it was not just a flow test, but a 4-hour flow test, right?
Right.
So that's the key thing that we want to try and hammer out here. What else is going on in the lending world?
Well, I did have not your everyday kind of example to share this week with you guys. I've got a client who's moved from Brazil, and he's established here. He's got a great work history and down payment money and income and stuff. Part of what his assets are going to be that are going to be used for this sale, though, or for this purchase, is he has property in Brazil that he's going to be selling. So this is going to be a challenge. I've dealt with clients with foreign assets used, as far as actually documenting the sale of this property in Brazil and his contracts and all that. It's going to get quite involved. But I know that it can be done. So we're going to have fun kind of delving into this one. So I don't know if Eric, if you've ever had somebody like this with the foreign stuff going on, but I know sometimes it gets into you're getting documents. We got to get them translated and fun stuff. But the guy's a great client. He's well responsive. He gets me everything I need right away. So we're gonna see how this one goes.
Yeah, I was gonna actually just touch on that with foreign assets. Usually the toughest thing is getting all the documentation translated. The easiest way actually is the borrower has to be involved. They can go to the consulate a lot of times and they can get it translated and they can get it certified. So it usually requires the borrower to be a little bit more involved.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I said. Especially with him being a good borrower, I know we'll be able to get it all done. So I'm looking forward to it because this will be a fun one to kind of notch off. As far as lending goes, rates have been pretty good. We had a couple days here where they kind of backtracked on us, but in general, I mean, we're still looking good on rates. Over the last 30 days, we've definitely gained a lot of room. Even this morning actually looks like we've rebounded quite a bit to what we might have lost the last couple days. So we're looking good. We're in the low sixes here on FHA and VA government loans, and even getting into the fives. Actually, we just with a buy down for someone, I got them into the fives yesterday. So rates are good. Programs are good. I had mentioned that Elevate program last week. I just issued a pre-approval or two about that about that this week. So definitely going in the right direction here. And if anybody thinks that you have any clients that might have asked about rates or down payment assistance programs, please let's put them in touch with Eric or I, and we're here to help and get this banged out for you guys all weekend.
Any general lending questions, guys? All right. Eric, if you don't have anything else, you want to, I know you like the mic. You got
Just
the
want
snaz,
to
you got the
remind,
snazzy background, you got the nice setup.
just want to remind everybody, we do have the event coming up next Wednesday. If anybody wants to come join us at the Celtic Cap. Love to have everybody there. I know we've been sending out a lot of invite information about it, put it in the lender chat, things like that. So if you plan on attending, if you could just sign up, that way we kind of have a little bit of an idea of a head count. Really appreciate that, and looking forward to seeing everyone there.
All right, guys, I'll give you a quick glance here at what we have for trainings available. This Friday, we've got just a couple of options: real estate mastery and real estate sales mastery workshop. So a couple of different options to level up. Market is definitely picking up. Obviously, with rates coming down a little bit, that's going to help. Yeah, if you're not making the connections at this point, I think you're really missing out, because I think we're finally starting to feel it. We're seeing a lot more activity with the buyers. Showings are starting to go up, and I think the deals are going to start to happen. So we got a little bit warmer up here. The ice rink might even come down this weekend. So go out there, show some houses, have yourselves a great weekend, put some deals together, and let's come back on Monday and talk about them. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.